The medical ward smelled like chemicals and death. Taemin walked through the long hallway, his boots making soft sounds on the metal floor. He did not want to be here. Nobody wanted to be in a place like this. He had delivered his cargo 3 hours ago. The payment was taking longer than usual to process. So he walked around the station, killing time, trying not to think about how empty his pockets were, or how much fuel cost these days. The Veltara Prime Station was huge. Thousands of aliens from dozens of different species came here to trade, to talk, to make deals. Humans were not common here. But they were not unwelcome either. Taemin kept his head down and tried not to bother anyone. He found himself in front of the charity medical section. Through the glass windows, he could see rows of beds and medical platforms. Most were empty. A few had patients that nobody wanted to pay for, the unlucky ones. The forgotten ones. Taemin should have walked away. He had his own problems. But something made him stop and look. On a platform near the back, something moved. It was big, much bigger than a human. Taemin pressed closer to the glass. He saw scales, dark green and brown, dulled like old metal. He saw powerful arms pulling, dragging. He saw a body that did not work right. The creature was a Dravok. Taemin knew about them. Everyone in the galaxy knew about them. They were warriors, the best fighters in known space, strong, fast, and deadly. Their culture was built on strength and honor in combat. They served as mercenaries, guards, and soldiers across 100 worlds. But this Dravok was not strong. She lay on the floor now, having fallen from her platform. Her arms had pulled her maybe 2 meters toward a water dispenser on the wall. Her lower body dragged behind her, useless. Her legs did not move at all. Taemin watched as a station worker walked past her. The worker did not stop, did not help, just kept walking like the Dravok was not even there. The Dravok pulled herself another few centimeters. Her arms shook with effort. Taemin could see her breathing hard, her mouth open, showing sharp teeth. She was exhausted. The water dispenser was still 3 meters away. Something twisted in Taemin's chest. He knew that feeling. He had felt it before, a long time ago when he was younger and the world made less sense. It was the feeling of watching someone suffer while everyone else looked away. He pushed through the door into the medical ward. The smell was worse inside. A medical assistant looked up from a desk, surprised to see someone enter. "Can I help you?" the assistant asked in flat trade speak. "The Dravok over there," Taemin said, pointing. "What happened to her?" The assistant glanced over without much interest. "Nerve toxin. Battle wound got infected. Her lower body is paralyzed. Permanent damage. What is being done for her?" The assistant shrugged. "Nothing. No one will pay for treatment. Her own people will not take her back. Dravok do not want warriors who cannot fight. She has been here for 2 weeks. We give her basic care, food, water. That is all we are required to do." Taemin walked over to where the Dravok lay on the floor. Up close, she was even bigger than he thought. Maybe 2.5 meters long, with a powerful upper body that looked like it could break a human in half. Her scales were scarred in many places, old wounds from old battles. Her eyes were open. They were yellow with black slits like a reptile from Earth. Those eyes looked at him with something that might have been anger, or might have been pain, maybe both. "Can you understand me?" Taemin asked in trade speak. The Dravok said nothing. She just stared at him. Taemin looked at the water dispenser, then back at her. He walked over, filled a container with water, and brought it to her. He held it near her mouth. For a long moment she did not move. Then slowly she drank. Her eyes never left his face. When the container was empty, Taemin set it down. "What is your name?" The Dravok's voice was rough, like gravel grinding together. "Velkara, I am Taemin," he said. "How long have you been trying to reach that water dispenser?" "Does it matter?" "I suppose not." Taemin sat down on the floor next to her. This was stupid. He knew it was stupid. He had cargo runs to book, fuel to buy, repairs to save for. He did not have time to sit on a medical ward floor talking to a dying alien warrior. But he did it anyway. "Your people will not help you?" he asked. Velkara made a sound that might have been a laugh. "I am no longer a warrior. I cannot fight. I cannot stand. In my culture, I am already dead. They will not waste resources on the dead. That is harsh. That is reality." Her yellow eyes studied him. "Why did you bring me water? What do you want?" "Nothing," Taemin said. "You were thirsty." This confused her. He could see it in her face. The idea that someone would help for no reason did not fit in her understanding of how the universe worked. Tamin stood up. He walked back to the medical assistant at the desk. "Who do I talk to about taking responsibility for her?" The assistant looked shocked. "For the Dravok? You want to take responsibility for her?" "Yes. Why would you do that? Do you understand the costs? The legal responsibility? If she dies, there could be investigations. If she lives, you are responsible for all her care. Medical treatment for a Dravok costs millions of credits. Are you wealthy?" "No," Tamin admitted. "Then you are insane." Maybe that was true. Tamin had been called worse things. "Who do I talk to?" The assistant sighed and pulled up forms on a data screen. "You will need to sign a lot of documents. You will need to prove you have transportation. You will need to agree to take her off this station within 48 hours. After that, she is your problem, not ours." "Fine." It took 2 hours to fill out all the forms. The ward administrator came to talk to him personally, to make sure he understood what he was agreeing to. A station security officer pulled him aside and warned him that humans who got involved in alien affairs usually ended up dead or broke. Tamin signed everything anyway. When it was done, he went back to where Velkara lay. She had managed to pull herself back onto her platform. She watched him approach with suspicious eyes. "I am taking you off this station," Tamin told her. "Why?" Her voice was harder now, demanding. "Because everyone else refused." "That is not an answer." Tamin thought about the right words. He thought about his sister 5 years ago, bleeding out on a colony floor while ships passed overhead without stopping. He thought about the distress calls that were ignored because the colony could not pay rescue fees. He thought about holding her hand while she died, promising that he would never let someone suffer alone if he could help it. "It is the only answer I have," he finally said. Velkara stared at him for a long time. Then she closed her eyes. "You are a fool, human." "Probably," Tamin agreed. "But you are still coming with me." He arranged for a hover gurney to transport her to his ship. Station workers loaded her onto it with little care, roughly handling her paralyzed legs. Velkara said nothing, but Tamin saw her jaw clench with each careless movement. As they moved through the station toward the docking bays, aliens stopped and stared. Some pointed, some laughed. A group of Dravok merchants saw them and turned away in disgust. As if Velkara was something shameful they did not want to acknowledge. The security officer who had warned him earlier stood near the docking bay entrance. As Tamin guided the gurney past, the officer shook his head. "Humans and their strange compassion," he said. "It will get you killed out here." Tamin did not answer. He just kept walking, guiding Velkara toward his ship, toward an uncertain future, toward something that might be salvation or might be disaster. Either way, he could not walk away. He had tried that once before, and it had cost him everything that mattered. Not again, never again. The Wandering Star was not a beautiful ship. It was old, patched together with parts from a dozen different models, and it made strange noises when it moved through space. But it was Tamin's home, and it kept flying when he needed it to. Getting Velkara aboard was difficult. The ship was not designed for someone her size, especially someone who could not walk. Tamin had to reconfigure the small medical bay, removing storage containers and expanding the bed platform. It took him 3 hours of work while Velkara waited in the cargo hold, saying nothing. When everything was ready, he helped her onto the medical bed. She moved using only her arms, pulling her body along with powerful movements. Her lower half dragged behind like dead weight. Tamin tried not to stare, but he could see the frustration in every movement she made. Once she was settled, he activated the ship's medical systems. They were basic, meant for emergency first aid, not for treating paralyzed alien warriors, but they could monitor her vital signs and dispense pain medication if needed. "Where are you taking me?" Velkara asked. Her voice was tired. "New Haven Colony. There is a doctor there who might help." "Might?" She said she would look at your case. She did not promise anything. Tamin adjusted the medical sensors, but she did not refuse either. "That is more than most people would do." Velkara laughed, but there was no humor in it. "You are risking your ship, your credits, your future on might. You are even more foolish than I thought." Tamin said nothing. He finished setting up the medical equipment and moved toward the door. "Human," Velkara called. He stopped and looked back. "Why?" she asked again. "What do you gain from this?" "What do you want from me?" Nothing, Tamian said simply. I want nothing from you. He left before she could ask more questions. He did not have good answers for those questions. He barely understood his own reasons. In the cockpit, he started the launch sequence. The wandering star rumbled to life around him. As the ship lifted off from the station, a soft voice spoke.
Good evening, Tamian.
I see we have a passenger. The voice came from everywhere and nowhere. It was gentle, warm, concerned. Tamian smiled despite his worries. Hello, Jiwoo. Jiwoo was the ship's artificial intelligence. Tamian had found her personality core in a junkyard 5 years ago, salvaged from a destroyed medical vessel. Most cargo haulers used basic navigation computers. Tamian had an AI that cared about people. Our passenger is a Dravok female with severe spinal nerve damage, Jiwoo continued. Her vital signs are weak but stable. She is in considerable pain, though she hides it well. Should I increase pain medication? Ask her first, Tamian said. Do not just do it. Of course. I will be respectful. Tamian set course for New Haven. It was a 6-day journey through relatively safe space. He hoped nothing would go wrong. He could not afford problems right now. The first 2 days were quiet. Velkara stayed in the medical bay, sleeping most of the time. When she was awake, she stared at the ceiling and said nothing. Tamian brought her food and water 3 times a day. She ate without thanking him, drank without speaking. Jiwoo was more talkative. The AI spent hours monitoring Velkara's condition, adjusting medications, trying to make her more comfortable. Tamian often heard Jiwoo talking to Velkara through the medical bay speakers, asking gentle questions, offering encouragement. On the 3rd day, Tamian entered the medical bay to find Velkara awake and clearly angry. Tell your computer to stop talking to me like I am a child, Velkara growled. Jiwoo is trying to help, Tamian said. I do not need her pity. It is not pity, it is care. There is a difference. Velkara turned her head away. In my culture, there is no difference. Care is for the weak. Pity is for the broken. I am both now. Tamian sat down on a storage crate near her bed. Your culture sounds exhausting. She looked at him sharply. You insult my people? No. I just think it must be hard to live in a place where you are not allowed to need help. Velkara was quiet for a long moment. When she spoke again, her voice was softer. It is the only way we survive. The galaxy is dangerous. The weak die. The strong endure. If we allowed ourselves to become soft, we would be conquered, enslaved, destroyed. Maybe, Tamian said. But what kind of survival is it if you have to abandon your own people when they need help most? A practical kind. A lonely kind. Velkara had no answer to that. On the 4th day, everything changed. Tamian was sleeping in his quarters when alarms blasted through the ship. He jerked awake, stumbling to the cockpit. Jiwoo's voice was urgent. Tamian, we have a problem. A ship is approaching fast. Military configuration. Dravok signatures. Tamian's heart sank. He pulled up the sensors. Sure enough, a Dravok warship was closing in on them. It was smaller than a full battlecruiser, probably a mercenary vessel, but it was still more than a match for the wandering star. Open a communication channel, Tamian said. A face appeared on his screen. Another Dravok, male, with darker scales and scars across his face. His eyes were cold and filled with contempt. Human vessel, you are carrying stolen property, the Dravok said. Return the warrior Velkara to Dravok custody immediately. She is not property, Tamian replied. She is a person and she came with me willingly. The Dravok laughed. It was an ugly sound. You speak of things you do not understand. I am Dokran, battle brother to Velkara. I have come to correct a mistake. What mistake? Allowing her to live in disgrace. It would have been kinder to let her die on that station. Instead, you drag her through the galaxy like a trophy, parading her weakness for all to see. This is cruelty, human, not mercy. Tamian felt anger rising in his chest. Let me guess. You did not come to the station to help her. You left her there to die alone. Dokran's expression did not change. I gave her what warriors deserve. An honorable end. Alone with her thoughts, preparing for the next life. You stole that from her. I saved her life. You prolonged her suffering. There is a difference. Behind Tamian, a voice spoke. He turned to see Velkara in the doorway of the cockpit. She had pulled herself there using her arms, dragging her useless legs behind her. Her face was tight with effort and pain. Dokran, she said. The male Dravok's face showed surprise, then disgust. You should not have survived the surgery that brought you to that station. You should not have survived the toxin. And you should not have allowed this human to humiliate you further. Have you no pride left? Velkara pulled herself closer to the communication screen. When she spoke, her voice was steel. You want to talk about pride? You who abandoned your battle sister without even saying goodbye? You who could not face me one last time because my weakness disgusted you? Your weakness shames us all, Dokran shot back. Then I will tell you this, Velkara said. If you want to kill me, if you want to end my shame, you will have to go through him. She gestured toward Taimin. And this human, this stranger who owed me nothing, has shown more warrior spirit in 4 days than you have shown in 30 years of friendship. Dokran stared at them both. For a long moment no one spoke. Then Dokran shook his head slowly. You are both beneath my notice now. The warrior I knew is dead. This creature that wears her face is something else. Something less. The communication cut off. The Dravok ship altered course and moved away, leaving them alone in space. Taimin let out a breath he did not know he was holding. He turned to Velkara. She was trembling, exhausted from the effort of pulling herself to the cockpit. That was brave, he said quietly. That was foolish, she corrected. If he had decided to fire on us, we would be dead. But he did not. No. Velkara looked at him with those yellow eyes. He did not, because you were willing to stand between me and death. Why? Why do you do these things? Taimin helped her back toward the medical bay. As he did, he finally told her the truth. He told her about his family, about the colony raid, about his sister dying while ships passed overhead. He told her about the distress calls that were ignored, the rescue fees that were too high, the choice that traders made to value profit over lives. I could not save her, he said. I could not save any of them. But I can save you. Maybe that does not fix anything. Maybe it does not balance the scales. But I have to try, because if I do not, then what was the point of surviving? Velkara listened in silence. When he finished, she said nothing for a long time. Finally, as he settled her back onto the medical bed, she spoke. I do not understand your species. You are weak in body, short-lived, and your emotions make you do irrational things. You should have died out long ago. Maybe, Taimin agreed. But you did not. No, we did not. Velkara closed her eyes. 2 more days to this colony? Yes, then I will rest. And perhaps when we arrive, I will try to understand why one human stranger refuses to let me die. Taimin left her to sleep. As he returned to the cockpit, Jiwoo spoke softly. That was well done, Taimin. Was it? I do not know what I am doing, Jiwoo. I am making this up as I go. Perhaps that is what makes it meaningful, the AI replied. You have no plan, no guarantee of success, no promise of reward. You simply refuse to walk away. Is that not what heroes do? I am not a hero. I am just tired of watching people die alone. Sometimes, Jiwoo said gently, those are the same thing. Share artifacts download, all HFY story outline document. MD. New Haven Colony looked small from space, just a cluster of buildings on a rocky moon, surrounded by agricultural domes and mining operations. It was not beautiful or impressive. It was just home to 3,000 humans trying to make a living far from Earth. Taimin landed the Wandering Star at the small spaceport. As the engines powered down, he saw a figure waiting on the landing pad. Dr. Hana stood with her arms crossed, looking unhappy. Stay here, Taimin told Velkara. Let me talk to her first. He walked down the ship's ramp. The moon's gravity was lighter than Earth standard, making each step feel bouncy. Hana walked toward him, her expression serious. You actually brought an alien patient, she said. When you called, I thought you were joking. I was not joking, Hana sighed. Taimin, I said I would look at the case. I never promised I could help. Do you understand the difference? Yes. And you brought her anyway? Yes. Hana rubbed her face with both hands. She was younger than Taimin, maybe 28, with short black hair and tired eyes. She had come to New Haven 3 years ago to escape something. Taimin had never asked what. Show me, she said finally. They went aboard the ship together. In the medical bay, Velkara was awake and watching them. Her yellow eyes tracked every movement Hana made. I am Dr. Hana, the human said in trade speak. I am going to examine you. Is that acceptable? Velkara said nothing. She just watched. Hana took that as permission. She spent 30 minutes scanning Velkara with medical equipment, checking readings, asking questions about pain levels and sensation. Velkara answered in short, clipped sentences. She clearly did not trust the human doctor. When the examination was done, Hana pulled Taemin aside. Her face was grim. The nerve toxin did severe damage, she said quietly. The spinal nerves are not just damaged. They are destroyed in several places. Even with our best technology, recovery would be extremely difficult. But possible? Taemin asked. Maybe, maybe not. I would need to bring in a specialist. Someone who knows about cross-species neural work. Someone who has experience with Dravok physiology. And even then it would take months of treatment, multiple surgeries, and cost more credits than this entire colony makes in a year. Taemin felt his heart sink. How much? Hana named a number. Taemin stopped breathing for a moment. It was more than he would earn in 10 years of cargo hauling. It was more than his ship was worth. It was more than he could ever hope to have, I see, he said quietly. I am sorry, Hana said. I wish I had better news. The best I can do is make her comfortable. Pain management, basic care, but full recovery. That is beyond what we can do here. Taemin nodded slowly. He should have expected this. He had known it was unlikely. But some small part of him had hoped for a miracle. There is one other option, Hana said carefully. There is a surgeon I know. His name is Young-Soo. He is brilliant. Maybe the best neural specialist in human space. But he has problems. What kind of problems? He was court-martialed from the military 5 years ago. He disobeyed orders during a war. His commanders told him to let alien prisoners die. He saved them instead. The military called it treason. He calls it medicine. Where is he now? Here, on New Haven. He has been hiding here for 2 years, doing basic medical work under a false name. If anyone found out who he really is, he would be arrested. Taemin thought about this. Would he help? I do not know. He is bitter, angry, and he trusts no one. But if anyone can save your Dravok friend, it is him. Then I need to talk to him. Hana hesitated. Taemin, even if he agrees, the cost will not change. You need millions of credits. Where will you get that kind of money? Taemin looked back toward the medical bay where Velkara lay. I will find a way. That evening, Taemin met with Young-Soo in a small clinic on the edge of the colony. The surgeon was older than Taemin expected, maybe 50, with gray hair and steady hands. His eyes were tired but sharp. Hana told me about your situation, Young-Soo said. It is impossible. Nothing is impossible, Taemin replied. This is. I have seen the scans. The damage is too severe. The toxin destroyed neural pathways that cannot be regrown with conventional medicine. You would need experimental procedures, biosynthetic nerve grafts, months of surgery and recovery. And even then, success is not guaranteed. What is the success rate? Maybe 30%. Maybe less. I have never worked on a Dravok before. Their physiology is different from humans. I would be guessing half the time. But you could try? Young-Soo leaned back in his chair. Why? Why are you doing this for an alien warrior you just met? What is she to you? Taemin thought about how to answer. Finally, he said, she is someone who needs help. That is enough. That is a terrible reason to destroy your life. Maybe. But it is my life to destroy. Young-Soo studied him for a long moment. Then he sighed. You remind me of someone I used to know. Someone stupid and idealistic who thought they could save everyone. That person got court-martialed and lost everything. Are you saying no? I am saying you are a fool. But so am I, Young-Soo stood up. If you can somehow get the money for equipment and supplies, I will attempt the surgery. But I make no promises. Your Dravok friend will probably die on the operating table. I understand. Do you? Do you really understand what you are risking? Your ship, your future, possibly your life? For someone who will likely die anyway? Yes, Taemin said simply. I understand. Young-Soo shook his head. Humans. We are all insane. The next day, Taemin began the process of finding money. He mortgaged his ship to a colony bank, signing papers that gave them ownership if he could not pay. He sold everything non-essential from the Wandering Star, stripping it down to bare minimum. He took out loans from 3 different lenders at terrible interest rates. It was not enough. It was not even close. He sat in his ship's cockpit staring at numbers on a screen, trying to figure out how to make the impossible possible. Jiwoo's voice broke his concentration. Taemin, Velkara wants to speak with you. He went to the medical bay. Velkara was sitting up on the bed, her useless legs stretched out in front of her. She looked at him with something that might have been concern. You are destroying yourself for me, she said. It was not a question. I am trying to help you. Stop. Taemin blinked. What? Stop this foolishness. I have heard you talking with the doctors. I know the costs. I know the risks. You are throwing away everything you have for a 30% chance of success. This is madness, maybe. Not maybe, definitely. Velkara's voice was hard. I have been a warrior for 40 years. I have seen hundreds of battles. I know when a fight is lost. This fight is lost. Let me go. No, why not? What am I to you? Nothing. A stranger. An alien. Someone from a species that would never do the same for you. We left our own battle brothers to die when they became weak. We would never waste resources on a paralyzed warrior. Why do you? Taemin sat down on the storage crate. He was quiet for a moment, searching for words. 5 years ago, my colony was attacked, he said finally. Raiders came and killed people, burned buildings, took what they wanted. We sent out distress calls. Ships passed overhead. Military ships, cargo ships, even some passenger liners. We begged for help. We offered money, promised payment, anything. He stopped, the memory still painful after all this time. No one stopped, he continued. They said it was not their problem. They said the rescue fees were too high. They said it was too dangerous. My sister died while I watched ships fly past, close enough to see but too far to care. Velkara said nothing. After that, I made a promise, Taemin said. I promised that I would never walk past someone who needed help. I would never be like those ships that flew away. I would never value my own comfort over someone else's life, even if it cost me everything, even if it was stupid, even if it made no sense. That is a child's promise, Velkara said quietly. Yes, it is, but it is the only promise I have kept. Velkara looked at him for a long time. Her yellow eyes were unreadable. Your species is very strange, she said finally. I know. You make no sense. You are weak, emotional, and irrational. I know that too. But you do not stop, even when you should, even when it would be easier. No, we do not stop. Velkara was quiet again. Then she said something that surprised him. When I was young, I thought strength was everything. The strongest warrior was the best warrior. The one who could fight alone, who needed no one, who conquered all enemies. I built my entire life on that belief. She looked down at her useless legs. I was wrong, she said. Real strength is not fighting alone. It is standing beside someone when the entire galaxy says they are not worth saving. It is refusing to walk away even when walking away would be easier. You have shown me more strength in 1 week than I showed in 40 years of war. Taemin did not know what to say to that. So I will tell you this, Velkara continued. If you are going to destroy your life saving me, I will not make it easy. I will fight. I will survive. I will prove that your foolish human compassion was not wasted. Do you understand? Taemin smiled. It was small, tired, but genuine. I understand. Good, now go find your money. And I will prepare to suffer through whatever nightmares your surgeon has planned. As Taemin left the medical bay, he heard Jiwoo's voice, soft and warm. I think she likes you. She called me foolish and irrational. Yes, Jiwoo agreed. The surgery took 12 hours. Taemin sat in the waiting room of the small colony hospital, unable to sleep, unable to eat, unable to think about anything except the operating room down the hall. Hana came by twice to bring him food he did not touch. Jiwoo spoke to him through his communicator, trying to keep him calm. Her vital signs are stable, the AI reported. Young-soo is working carefully. There have been no complications yet. Yet. That word hung in the air like a threat. Taemin had managed to scrape together enough money for the surgery, but barely. He had sold everything of value he owned. The Wandering Star was mortgaged to the point where he would spend the next 10 years paying it off. He had debts to 5 different lenders, all charging interest rates that would bury him. None of that mattered if Velkara died. Finally, after what felt like days, Young-soo emerged from the operating room. His surgical gown was stained, his face exhausted. He pulled off his mask and sat down heavily next to Taemin. She is alive, Young-soo said. Taemin felt something release in his chest. The surgery worked? The surgery is complete. Whether it worked? We will not know for weeks. Young-Soo rubbed his eyes. I did everything I could. I used biosynthetic grafts to bridge the damaged neural pathways. I repaired what could be repaired, replaced what could not. But Dravok physiology is different from human. Her body might reject the grafts. The nerve connections might not form properly. There are 100 things that could go wrong. But there is a chance? There is a chance. Maybe 30%, like I said before. Maybe less. Young-Soo looked at him seriously. The next phase is recovery and physical therapy. That will be even harder than the surgery. She will be in constant pain. Her body will fight against every attempt to move. Many patients give up. They decide death is easier than the suffering required to heal. Velkara will not give up, Taemin said with certainty. How do you know? Because she promised me she would fight. Young-Soo smiled slightly. Then maybe she has a chance after all. Velkara woke 3 days later. Taemin was sitting beside her bed when her yellow eyes opened. She looked confused at first, then aware, then afraid. Am I paralyzed still? She asked, her voice rough from the breathing tube. We do not know yet, Taemin said honestly. The surgery is done. Now we wait to see if your body accepts the repairs. Velkara closed her eyes. How long will we know? Weeks, maybe months. And if it does not work? Then we try something else. She looked at him. You are serious. You will not give up. No, I will not give up. Foolish human, she muttered, but there was no anger in her voice, just exhaustion. The weeks that followed were brutal. A physical therapist named Hyunwoo came to work with Velkara every day. He was a small human, barely reaching Velkara's chest even when she was lying down, but he was relentless. We start simple, Hyunwoo explained, just trying to move your toes. Do not think about walking. Do not think about standing. Just focus on your toes. Velkara stared at her feet with intense concentration. Her face twisted with effort. Nothing happened. Again, Hyunwoo said calmly. She tried again. Still nothing. Again. For an hour, Velkara tried to move her toes. Sweat dripped down her scaled face. Her breathing became ragged. Her arms trembled from tension. Nothing moved. When the session ended, Velkara slumped back on the bed, defeated. Taemin saw tears forming in her yellow eyes, though Dravok were not supposed to cry. I cannot do this, she whispered. You can, Taemin said quietly. Not today, but you will. You do not know that, no, but I believe it. Every day was the same. Hyunwoo came. Velkara tried to move. Nothing happened. She grew more frustrated, more angry, more desperate. Some days she refused to try at all, saying it was pointless. On those days, Taemin would sit with her and talk. He told her stories about Earth, about human history, about people who overcame impossible odds. He told her about athletes who learned to walk again after accidents, soldiers who survived horrific wounds, ordinary people who did extraordinary things. Why do you tell me these stories? Velkara asked one day. Because you need to know that recovery is possible. Difficult, but possible. These are human stories. Humans are different. Pain is pain, Taemin said. Suffering is suffering. It does not matter what species you are. What matters is whether you give up or keep fighting. 6 weeks after the surgery, something changed. Hyunwoo was running through the usual exercises. Try to move your left toe, he said, not really expecting results. Velkara concentrated. Her face showed the familiar strain of effort and her toe moved. It was tiny, just a twitch, but everyone in the room saw it. Hyunwoo's eyes went wide. Hana, who was checking monitors nearby, gasped. Taemin leaned forward, hardly daring to breathe. Did I? Velkara's voice shook. Did I move it? Or am I imagining? You moved it, Hyunwoo said, his voice full of excitement. Do it again, she tried. The toe twitched again, and then Velkara did something Taemin had never seen. She cried, real tears, falling from her reptilian eyes, running down her scaled face. She sobbed with a sound that was part relief, part pain, part hope. Taemin moved closer and took her hand. She gripped it hard enough to hurt, but he did not pull away. You did it, he said simply. One toe. She choked out between sobs. Just one toe. Today, one toe. Tomorrow, more. She looked at him through her tears. You really believe that? Yes. Foolish human. But this time she was smiling. Progress came slowly after that. One toe became 2 toes. 2 toes became a whole foot. A whole foot became the ability to feel pressure on her legs. Feeling pressure became the ability to tense muscles. Each tiny victory took days or weeks of agonizing effort. There were setbacks, infections that required more treatment, days when the pain was so bad that Velkara screamed for hours, times when she begged Young-Soo to just end it, to let her die, to stop the suffering. Taemin was always there. He never told her it would be easy. He never promised the pain would stop. He just stayed. He held her hand when she needed it. He gave her space when she asked. He brought her food, told her stories, and believed in her even when she stopped believing in herself. 3 months after the surgery, Velkara stood for the first time. It required a support frame, 2 people holding her steady and every bit of strength she had. She could only hold the position for 5 seconds before her legs gave out, and she collapsed back onto the bed. But for those 5 seconds she was standing. Taemin saw something change in her eyes that day. The defeat was gone. In its place was determination, fierce and unstoppable. Again, she said as soon as she caught her breath. Tomorrow, Hyunwoo said. Your body needs rest. Again, Velkara repeated, her voice hard as stone. They tried again. She stood for 6 seconds, the next day 7 seconds. The day after, 10. News of Velkara's recovery began to spread beyond New Haven. A message arrived from someone called Ambassador Kal-esh, a Dravok official from a reform movement. She wanted to meet Velkara, to talk about cultural change, to use her story as inspiration. But another message arrived too. Councillor Rektal, the same official who had tried to take Velkara from the station months ago, sent a formal demand. Under galactic law, Dravok citizens could be claimed by their government. He was coming to New Haven with legal authority and armed enforcers. They want to take me back, Velkara said, reading the message. We will not let them, Taemin replied. You cannot stop them. They have the law on their side. Then we change the law. How? Taemin thought for a moment. Then he started making calls. He contacted everyone who had helped him over the years, everyone who owed him a favor, everyone who believed that compassion mattered more than law. The first person to respond was Captain Yuri, the pirate lord whose crew Taemin had saved from radiation poisoning 2 years ago. You helped my people when no one else would, Yuri said over the communication link. Time to return that favor. How many ships do you need? Within days, a small fleet began gathering near New Haven. Pirates, traders, independent cargo haulers, even a few military deserters. All of them coming because a human stranger had once helped them, and now he needed help in return. Ambassador Kal-esh arrived and offered to mediate. This does not have to end in violence, she said. There are legal options. What options? Taemin asked. Under ancient Dravok law, any warrior who can stand before the council has the right to speak for themselves, to determine their own fate. If Velkara can walk into a tribunal without assistance, she can invoke the right of personal advocacy. The council cannot refuse. Taemin looked at Velkara. Can you walk? Velkara was standing now with the support frame. She had not walked unaided yet. The most she had managed was a few steps while holding on to Hyunwoo's arm. I do not know, she said honestly. Then we have 3 days to find out, Kal-esh said. That is when Rektal arrives with his forces. For 3 days, Velkara trained harder than ever before. She fell dozens of times. She pushed herself until she vomited from pain. She refused to stop, refused to rest, refused to give up. On the 3rd day, as Rektal's ships appeared in orbit, Velkara walked out of the medical facility. She walked slowly. Her steps were unsteady. She swayed and nearly fell twice, but she walked without help, without the frame. Without anyone holding her arm, she walked, and the galaxy would never be the same. The tribunal was held on a neutral station, in a chamber that could hold thousands of observers. Every major news network in the galaxy sent reporters. This was unprecedented. A paralyzed Dravok warrior standing before her own people to argue for her freedom. Velkara stood in the center of the chamber. She wore simple clothing, no armor, no weapons. Her legs trembled slightly from the effort of standing, but she did not sit. She would not show weakness now. 7 Dravok judges sat in a semicircle before her, their faces unreadable. Councillor Rektal stood to one side, confident and smug. Ambassador Kal-esh stood on the other, her expression hopeful but worried. Taemin watched from the observation gallery with Hana, Young-Soo, and Hyunwoo. His hands were clenched so tight his knuckles were white. The eldest judge spoke. Warrior Velkara, You stand accused of bringing shame to your people by allowing yourself to be displayed in weakness. Counselor Rectal has demanded your return to Dravok custody for proper treatment according to our traditions. What say you? Velkara's voice was clear and strong. I invoke the right of personal advocacy. I stand before you on my own feet. By ancient law, you must hear my words. The judges conferred briefly. The eldest nodded. The right is granted, speak. Velkara took a breath. For 40 years I served as a warrior. I believed that strength was everything. The strongest warrior was the best warrior. The one who needed no one, who stood alone, who conquered all enemies. Our entire culture taught me this. Weakness was shame. Needing help was disgrace. Death was preferable to being broken. She paused, her yellow eyes scanning the judges. When I was paralyzed, I believed I was dead. I had no value. I had no purpose. I waited to die because that is what our culture demanded. And my people agreed. My own battle brothers abandoned me. My government left me on a charity ward to waste away. Everyone I had ever known turned their backs because I could no longer fight. Counselor Rectal interrupted. Because you were no longer a warrior. We honored you with a quiet end. You gave me nothing, Velkara shot back. You gave me abandonment. You gave me loneliness. You gave me despair. She turned back to the judges. Then a human stranger found me. He had no reason to help. I was not his species. I was not his problem. I could offer him nothing in return. But he helped anyway. He risked everything he owned. He destroyed his own future to give me a chance at recovery. And this is supposed to impress us? One of the judges asked. This human acted foolishly. He wasted resources on the broken. This is weakness, not strength, is it? Velkara asked. Then explain this. I am standing here today. I am walking. I am alive. Not because of Dravok's strength. Not because of our warrior culture. Not because of our advanced military training. I am here because one human was strong enough to carry my burden when I could not. She took a few steps forward. Each step was visible effort, but she made them. I believed I was strongest when I stood alone, she continued.
I was wrong.
I was strongest when I stood beside someone who refused to let me fall. This human showed me a different kind of strength. The strength to sacrifice without expecting return. The strength to care for someone the entire galaxy had deemed worthless. The strength to believe in recovery when everyone else saw only death. Another judge spoke. You speak of human weakness as if it were virtue. Their emotions make them irrational. Their compassion makes them vulnerable. These are not strengths. Then why am I alive? Velkara challenged. Why am I standing here? Your strength abandoned me. Their weakness saved me. Perhaps we have been wrong about what strength truly means. The chamber was silent. Velkara pressed on. Our culture says the strong survive alone. But look at humans. They are weak in body. They are short-lived. They have no natural weapons, no thick scales, no superior strength. By all logic, they should have died out long ago. But they did not. Do you know why? She did not wait for an answer. Because they refuse to stand alone. They carry each other. They save each other. They sacrifice for each other. One human cannot defeat a Dravok warrior, but a group of humans working together, supporting each other, refusing to abandon their own, they can defeat anything. This is not about humans, Rectal said angrily. This is about Dravok honor. No, Velkara said firmly. This is about what honor truly means. Is it honorable to abandon those who can no longer fight? Is it honorable to turn away from suffering? Is it honorable to let warriors die alone when they could be saved? She looked at each judge in turn. I am standing here today because someone refused to accept that I was worthless. Someone believed I deserved a chance. Someone showed me that strength is not about standing alone. It is about standing together. The eldest judge leaned forward. What would you have us do, warrior? Change our entire culture because one human acted strangely? I would have you question it, Velkara said. I would have you ask whether our way is the only way. I would have you consider that maybe, just maybe, there is value in compassion, in mercy, in refusing to abandon those who need help. And if we refuse, if we order you to return to Dravok custody? Velkara stood straighter. Then I will refuse. I will stay with the human who saved me. I will learn from his people. And I will show the galaxy that there is another path for Dravok warriors, one where strength and compassion can exist together. The judges conferred for a long time. The chamber was absolutely silent, thousands of beings holding their breath. Finally, the eldest judge spoke. We have a decision. 3 judges vote that you should return to Dravok custody to face traditional end-of-life protocols. 3 judges vote that you should be granted freedom to choose your own path. Everyone waited. I am the 7th vote, the eldest said, and I have a question before I decide. Warrior Velkara, what will you do if we grant your freedom? Velkara did not hesitate. I will stay with Taemin. I will help him rescue others who have been abandoned. I will stand beside those the galaxy refuses to see, and I will show my people that we do not have to be alone in our strength. The eldest judge was quiet for a moment. Then slowly he nodded. Freedom is granted. Velkara, you are released from Dravok custody. You may choose your own path. The chamber erupted. Some spectators cheered. Others protested. Councillor Rektal looked furious, but he was bound by the tribunal's decision. Ambassador Kalesh was smiling. She approached Velkara after the tribunal ended. You have started something, she said quietly. Young Dravok across the galaxy are watching. They are questioning our ways. You have given them permission to imagine something different. I did not do this alone, Velkara said. She looked up at the observation gallery where Taemin stood. He did this. That evening, Taemin received a message on his communication device. It was from an unknown sender, but the message was simple. Thank you for helping one of ours. Here is a small token of appreciation. Attached was a credit transfer, then another. Then hundreds more. Thousands of humans, people Taemin had never met, were sending small amounts of money. 5 credits here, 10 credits there. A few rich donors sent thousands. What is happening? Taemin asked Jiwoo. Your story spread, the AI replied. Humans across the galaxy heard what you did. They heard about your sacrifice, your debts, your willingness to destroy your own future to save someone else. And they decided to help, because that is what humans do. By the next morning, all of Taemin's debts were paid. His ship was fully repaired. He had enough credits left over to operate for a year without taking a single cargo job. Messages came with the donations. Simple messages. That is what we do. We take care of our own. You showed them who we are. Velkara read some of the messages over his shoulder. Your entire species is insane, she muttered. Probably, Taemin agreed, but I am grateful for it. They stood together on the observation deck of New Haven, watching ships come and go. Youngsu and Hyunwoo had agreed to join them. Hana was considering it. Even a few young Dravok had sent messages asking to serve aboard the Wandering Star. What will we do now? Velkara asked. We do what we always do, Taemin said. We help people who need help. As if summoned by his words, an alert came through. A distress signal from an abandoned mining station. The message was old, desperate. Most ships had ignored it. Not profitable enough. Too dangerous. Not worth the effort. Taemin changed the Wandering Star's course immediately. Velkara stood beside him, standing on her own, without support. You know we probably will not get paid for this. When has that ever stopped us? As they moved toward the distress signal, other ships began changing course to join them. Human vessels. Some Dravok ships flying a new insignia that showed 2 figures standing together. Even a few of Captain Yuri's pirates, a fleet of the unwanted and the unlikely, coming together to help someone in need. Jiwoo's voice came over the speakers, warm and pleased. Captain, we are receiving messages from 23 ships offering assistance. I think we have started something. Velkara placed a clawed hand on Taemin's shoulder, a gesture of deep respect in Dravok culture. Thank you, she said quietly, for refusing to walk away. Taemin looked at her, at the ships joining them, at the distress signal growing closer. He thought about his sister 5 years ago. He thought about the promise he had made. He thought about one human stranger refusing to abandon one alien warrior,